Ready? Welcome to Jamie's Vinyl Hideaway. I'm Jamie, this is my hideaway, and I'm here to play some records for you. My records. I collect a lot of records. I love vinyl, and I think it best that I do most of my early shows on music that really moves me, music that affects me. And what I'm gonna do tonight is Jethro Tull, one of my favorite bands. Jethro Tull from England came together in 1968 to put out their first album. This was Jethro Tull. This was the title because soon thereafter the music changed. This was featured Mick Abrams on guitar, Glenn Cornick on bass, Clive Bunker on drums, and Ian Anderson on flute and various other instruments. So with no further ado, I'm going to start with Beggar's Farm. Beggar's Farm is one of the rare songs that was actually Ian Anderson co-wrote with another member of the band, in this case, Mick Abrams. So here we go, Beggar's Farm.
You are only fooling around, 'cause I know what you feel. But if you pass me now, sweet woman, I'll wake up early, want it soon, and I'll visit you down the Beggar's Farm.
Sounds like they're losing it here, but don't worry, it all comes back together. Now, Ian Anderson wasn't the only flute player in town. Like he puts it, he just played a little louder. Actually, there are a lot of bands in England particularly that used the flute back in the late 60s, early 70s. Another thing that was popular in around that time was the drum solo. I know a lot of you out there don't like drum solos, and I'm not going to torture you with a drum solo. But Clive Bunker was a great drummer, and this song has a bit of a drum solo, but I'm going to play the beginning of the song. And this was a concert staple for Jethro Tull for a few years. This is Dharma for One. you out there would like to stand on one leg and do the old air flute, please go right ahead.
Not doing that.
I find this to be like whistling music for some strange reason. Not a boring drum solo.
Not really.
Oh. There you go. Anyway, there was some musical differences between Mick Abrams and Ian Anderson. Mick Abrams, more of a blues, jazz kind of guitar player. He wanted to stick with that. Ian Anderson wanted to, delve into some other things. So anyway, Mick Abrams left the band, formed Bloodwind Pig, did a couple albums with Bloodwind Pig, good albums. Out with Mick Abrams, in with Martin Bear. Or is it Martin Barre? I don't know. They're from England. I think Bear. But next album, Stand Up. Great album. Great album. Stand Up. Anyway, Stand Up with Martin Bear on guitar. By the way, for a short time,
that's a great
when
cover.
they didn't know who was going to play guitar for the band, Tony Iommi joined briefly, and when Tony Iommi realized that this was not going to be, he wasn't going to have a lot of influence on where the band was going musically, he left and formed Black Sabbath. But anyway, it would have been interesting to see how they sounded if they recorded with Tony Iommi, but they didn't. But Martin Bear was a better choice for the band. And by the way, they recorded in America on Reprise Records. This is what Reprise Records would have looked like in 1969 when Stand Up was released. And I'm going to do a little bit from the song Back to the Family. I'm going to start in the middle of that and give you a little idea, a little Back to the Family. And I'll show you the Chrysalis album, which was later the record company that they used in the United States. Anyway, Back to the Family. A lot of good family songs. Family seems to be an important theme in the early Jethro Tull songs. Here we go.
I'll get a train back to the city. That soft life was getting me down. There's more fun away from the family. Get some action when I pull into town.
This will be the Green Chrysalis label.
Pop-up. It's a pop-up. buddy.
Martin Bear on guitar. Incidentally, Martin Bear was on all the subsequent, or all the following Jethro Tull albums. And when he no longer played with them, it seemed they would not call themselves Jethro Tull simply because Ian Anderson was
I don't like being
putting
ignored.
an album together.
I don't
So-
like being ignored.
What do I have here? What do I have here? Okay, hold on. This is the Stump to Jamie here. Stump to Jamie. Whoa, okay, all right. Stump to Jamie number 1.
Woo!
All right, here we go. Stump to Jamie number 1.
Here we go.
Oh, I get my glasses on for this.
Finally, God.
Oh, this is a very this is big stuff here. Which album won the Grammy for the best rock performance?
Ooh, I know.
1989. Now, if you were
Controversial.
tuned into my Iggy and the Stooges episode, which was my last show, I would have mentioned that 1989 it was the best hard rock heavy metal performance Grammy. Now Jethro Tull obviously didn't fit into the heavy metal thing, but people liked Jethro Tull and they felt, well, they should win.
Who should have
A
won?
lot of people, right back there, a lot of people thought Metallica should win, right? No. 9 Inch Nails? No. I think Iggy Pop should have won myself with his album Instinct. However, Jethro Tull won for Steel Monkey. And there was a big uproar. Ian Anderson knew already not to show up. And it was a good album.
And then what happened?
But, anyway, so I believe, this is my personal theory, that Jethro Tull has been punished ever since. Punished in a way that, is Jethro Tull in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No. Makes no sense.
Not yet.
But I think they're just being punished for the winning the Grammy when they really shouldn't have. Although they should have won Grammy for many other albums, I'm sure. Anyway, for 1,000 Mothers. I'm going to take you about halfway into 1,000 Mothers. Kind of another song about, maybe all the mothers that don't think your sons could make it as rock stars or something like that. Reprise Records, by the way, was sold by Frank Sinatra to Warner Brothers in 1960. What was this? There's more! Common thing to do back then was to, you think the song's over, it gets quiet, fades out, and boom, all of a sudden it comes back with a little tag at the end. A lot of people did that back then. Anyway, stand up with the cool little stand-up cover and the woodcut cover, and of course, as I showed you, the little stand-up, hence the name of the album. The next album Benefit. Another great album. This is a later release as far as a reissue on a Blue Chrysalis label. It's also the first album that John Evan, keyboard player, played on. Not yet quite an official member. Ooh, man. Not quite yet an official member of the band. Well, I'm really glad that wasn't the original, reprise,
Tell me that.
first issue release that I just got my fingers all over. But anyway, yeah, it's from the 80s, actually. It's got a barcode on the back. They started putting barcodes on the back of records in the 80s to hinder the beauty of the cover. But anyway, first song, With You There to Help Me. Let's play a little bit of that. This is one of those songs that get to me. And it starts out quiet and then boom. Song I'm going to play is called Son. Son is one of those father and son songs. Really great line in that where the father says to the son, "When I was your age, amusement we made for ourselves." How many times do we want to say that to the younger generation? Which I hope is listening to this. But anyway, Cat Stevens had a song called Father and Son that came out later that year. By the way, this came out in April of 1970. Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman came out toward the end of 1970. And the song very similar, called Father and Son. But anyway, with this one, the son is like 30 years old. 1970, 30 years old. The son was born 1940. By the way, 49 years old this album is. 50 years ago, Stand Up came out. Very cool. A little bit of the last song. I didn't want to do that. Well, that was Inside. So, what, I got the wrong band here? Sorry. Son. This band here. Yes. son responding to the father. Anyway, a lot of great songs on this album. Teacher being the most popular of the songs. I gotta tell you a story. I could save it for Jethro Tull Part 2, but I want to tell it now. The second concert I ever went to was during the War Child Tour in 1974. And at the Nassau Coliseum. And there was an incident during and the people, I've talked to a lot of people who are at this concert. They're like, yeah, I remember that. Apparently, John Evan, the keyboard player, is doing the introduction to, I think, God. We're going to play a little, no, I think it was Locomotive Breath. He's doing an introduction, quiet little piano thing. And some joker throws a bottle of beer, what it appeared to be, onto the stage, and it exploded, and there was, beer flying everywhere. And I thought it was part of the show because there was a lot of stuff going on, big balloons. And anyway, so Ian Anderson stops the music and looks up at the where the bottle came from. Rowdy crowds for some reason at Jethro Tull concerts. I never understood that, but rowdy crowds. And he proceeded to curse out and in a vulgar fashion, and then challenged the guy to meet him outside after outside the dressing room door and get his punishment. Anyway, then he apologized to the women in the audience for using such language. I won't repeat what he said, but I do remember a few words. And that might be particularly offensive to women. But anyway, he apologized for saying such things, and the concert continued. And that leads us to the next album, Aqualung. We all know about Aqualung. Huge album. Totally broke Jethro Tull through. Clive Bunker leaves, no, he's still with them. Glenn Cornick leaves the band, forms Wild Turkey, the bass player Glenn Cornick, and he is replaced by Jeffrey Hammond, a friend of the band's, on bass guitar. And so this is the first album with Jeffrey Hammond, and also John Evans is a full-fledged member of the band at this point. So I want to play you a little bit from My God is the name of the song. Now, there were 3 songs on the Aqualung album that had a religious theme, so to speak. Mostly critical of churches, particularly the Anglican Church. And there's a little line in this where I didn't really get it as a kid. But I kind of was like, are they talking about us? Catholics? I think he's talking about us. Turns out, I heard a concert he did at the Isle of Wight, anyway, where he pretty much says the word Catholic, and I guess he kind of figured, maybe I ought to not say that. I want the Irish to buy my records too, and when I go to New York, I don't want to be drawn and quartered. So I'll say something else. So let's see if I can find that on this song. Man, where is it? About 3/4 of the way in. There we go.
The graven image, with his plastic crucifix. He's got it fixed. Confuses me as to who and where and why, as to how he gets his kicks. He gets his kicks. Confessing for the endless sin, the endless winding sounds. He'll be praying till next Thursday for the God that you can count.
Anyway, you get the idea. Great song, not a concept album, in contrary to popular belief. Although there are themes, and on the first side of the album is, Aqualung, Cross-Eyed Mary, and this song. Now, this is the first album I ever heard, first Jethro Tull I ever heard, Aqualung. Not the first one I owned. That distinction goes to Thick as a Brick. My sister Debbie bought me that album. But so I thought it only fitting that the sorry, a little trouble with the Stump the Jamie
We don't
apparatus.
We don't like being.
But anyway, I thought it only fitting that when my nephew George came of age and started listening to rock and roll, that I give him the Aqualung album. And the cassettes were big back then, not so much vinyl, but I gave him an Aqualung cassette, and also got him a vinyl copy of $1 Billion Babies, Alice Cooper's $1 Billion Babies. But anyway, very this song is for George. It has to do with hard-working people, just regular working-class people. And George, as was part of our family tradition, and his on his father's side as well. It's kind of a song about the working man, and it's called "Up to Me." Stump the Jamie, number 2. Got it. All right, here we go. Stump the Jamie, number 2. Oh, it says number 3. Oh, we did 2? Oh, okay, I missed the other one. What kind of don't make me get up. What kind of beer am I drinking? I don't know. It's an IPA. And it's that bottle over there. But anyway, I like beer.
When the copper fades away.
High Wire Brewing. Huh, cool. High Wire Brewing. That's a little picture of a freaking hippopotamus.
Here's number 2.
Oh, what is it? Oh, Stump the Jamie, number 2. Alright, that makes sense. True or false? Tull was invited to play Woodstock. I don't think so. However, if you watch the Woodstock movie, you will hear Jethro Tull music playing in the background on the PA system. Were they invited? I didn't know. I didn't think so. If you're saying well, maybe they were invited, but they didn't play Woodstock. I don't get it. Why would you not play Woodstock? Not everybody knew Woodstock was going to be what it was. But I didn't know they were invited. If you know the correct answer to this question, please make a comment on my YouTube channel. Share my YouTube channel with your friends. Like it, share it. Everything else that you do with YouTube channels. Like it, comment. Please make comments. By the way,
Maybe subscribe.
I've got two. Oh, subscribe. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to feel like, important and everything. So, Aqualung came out later on Chrysalis Records. After Thick as a Brick, all the Jethro Tull albums will come out on Chrysalis Records. But anyway, the early albums, Reprise Records. I say reprise. Some people say reprise.
Potato, potato.
I'm just a simple boy from Long Island.
Tomato, tomato.
Sounds like reprise to me. That's how it looks. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to Jamie's Vinyl Hideaway. If you have any suggestions, on what I should do next, I've got a big record collection, and I'd like to dig it out. So, who?
Eagles.
Yeah, there's certain bands you're just not going to hear here. So, and anyway, but I got a wide variety of stuff, and maybe I'll go out and borrow some records of things I don't have. Heck, But anyway, not sure what I'm gonna do next. I will certainly put a trailer out on my my next YouTube video. So anyway, this is Jamie's Vinyl Hideaway. This is Jethro Tull Part 1. There will be a Part 2 one day. All right. Later, man. Move it.